The New York Yankees are entering one of the most intriguing and potentially transformative offseasons in recent memory. After a turbulent stretch that saw expectations swing wildly from hopeful optimism to frustration and confusion, the team now finds itself at a crossroads. Fans are buzzing about the possibilities, and front office decisions made in the coming months could define the next decade of Yankees baseball. The big question looming over the Bronx, as always, revolves around how the team addresses its roster gaps and long-term position needs. While the spotlight often shines brightest on superstars like Aaron Judge, the reality is that depth, positional security, and strategic acquisitions will likely dictate the franchise's success in the years ahead. One of the most talked-about potential moves involves the catching position, a spot that, until recently, did not appear to be a glaring weakness. Yet circumstances are evolving, and the possibility of a major addition in that role cannot be ignored. Adley Rutschman, who once seemed untouchable as the future cornerstone behind the plate for Baltimore, has become a center of trade speculation. Rutschman's trajectory has been fascinating. He burst onto the scene with a combination of poise, offensive firepower, and defensive reliability that made him an all-star in his early seasons. His career batting average sits in the mid-25s with a substantial number of runs batted in, and for a catcher, his OPS was once a benchmark of excellence. Yet this season has been challenging for him. Injuries, a dip in power, and a batting average in the low 20s have raised questions about whether he can sustain the elite level of production that once seemed inevitable. For the Orioles, the calculus is complex. Samuel Basallo, a young catcher with tremendous upside, has already secured a long-term contract that keeps him under team control for the next 7 years. The organization clearly believes in his potential, and his limited major league experience has been encouraging. The possibility of Rutschman coexisting with Basallo has been floated, but there is no guarantee this scenario will play out. Baltimore is faced with a strategic choice: continue investing in Rutschman's rebound, commit to Basallo as the future, or use Rutschman as leverage to address other roster needs. That kind of decision naturally attracts attention from teams like the Yankees, who are always evaluating ways to upgrade their lineup, whether through trade or free agency. While catcher might not be the most pressing need for New York, it is a position that could suddenly become pivotal depending on how the offseason unfolds. Ben Rice has shown flashes of brilliance, boasting a strong OPS and consistent production since mid-July. His ability to hit for power and maintain an above-average batting average is impressive, yet questions remain about his suitability as a long-term solution behind the plate. Austin Wells, meanwhile, represents both hope and uncertainty. Once a highly touted prospect, Wells has struggled at the major league level, and his future is far from secure. The Yankees are now faced with a series of critical decisions. Do they invest in a proven, experienced catcher like Rutschman, or do they double down on developing Wells and Rice internally? These choices will not exist in a vacuum, as the managerial situation adds another layer of complexity. Aaron Boone's tenure as manager has been marked by indecision at times, and with the uncertainty surrounding his future, the Yankees could enter the next season under entirely new leadership. A new manager brings new philosophies, new preferences, and inevitably new ideas about who should play where. If the team brings in someone who favors veteran stability, Rutschman could be an attractive option. Conversely, a manager inclined toward youth development might prioritize Wells or Rice, reshaping the team's catching dynamic entirely. Beyond individual player performance, the Yankees must also consider how other roster positions interact with these decisions. First base, for example, could be influenced by where Judge ultimately plays. If Judge returns to the outfield, the first base situation remains flexible. If not, it could force a domino effect across the infield and outfield, directly impacting which players are prioritized in trades or free agency. The shortstop position remains another major focal point for the Yankees. Anthony Volpe has shown promise, but it is increasingly clear that he may not yet be the long-term answer at the position. The search for stability at shortstop will likely define the team's strategy next season, whether that involves pursuing an established free agent, targeting a young prospect via trade, or relying on internal options while they continue to develop. The scarcity of elite shortstops in the free agent market makes this an even more pressing concern, emphasizing the need for the Yankees to act decisively if they hope to solidify the position for the foreseeable future. Beyond the infield, pitching remains a puzzle. The bullpen has been a source of both optimism and anxiety. While some arms have shown promise, others have faltered at critical moments, leaving the team with uncertainty heading into next season. Injuries, inconsistencies, and performance fluctuations create a situation where every offseason move is magnified in importance. Reliable pitchers like Jarrett Cole, assuming he returns to form, could stabilize the rotation, but the Yankees cannot afford to depend solely on him. Other pitchers have shown flashes, but long-term durability and performance consistency are essential for postseason aspirations. Adding to the complexity is the team's outfield situation. With players like Judge, Dominguez, Bellinger, and Giesbrecht all factoring into decisions about playing time and contracts, the Yankees face a series of interconnected challenges. Free agent departures and potential resignings create a cascade of decisions that will influence the lineup, defensive alignment, and overall team balance. How the Yankees manage these pieces will be crucial in determining whether they can field a cohesive, competitive team next season or if gaps in key positions will persist. Every move, every trade rumor, and every managerial decision is under scrutiny because the stakes are exceptionally high. Bringing in a player like Rutman is not just about catching performance. It is about signaling the organization's priorities, balancing youth with experience, and preparing for a future where positional stability is non-negotiable. Similarly, decisions about internal players such as Rice and Wells are not made in isolation. They reflect broader strategies about development, playing time, and how best to leverage the team's resources to remain competitive. The Yankees front office is tasked with a complex juggling act, managing contracts, assessing player potential, predicting recovery from injuries, and anticipating managerial philosophies that may shift depending on who leads the team. Each of these factors intertwines with the others, creating a decision-making environment where timing, foresight, and adaptability are paramount. Trades, free agent signings, internal promotions, and roster adjustments all carry the weight of shaping not just the next season, but potentially the next half-decade of Yankees baseball. Ben Rice and Austin Wells have been thrust into the spotlight as the internal options to stabilize the position. Rice, since mid-July, has demonstrated offensive consistency that is hard to overlook. An OPS in the high 800s, a slugging percentage above 500, and a batting average in the mid-20s mark him as a player with legitimate offensive upside for a catcher. Yet questions about his long-term viability remain, particularly when factoring in durability and the defensive demands of the position. Wells, once a highly touted prospect, has experienced a difficult transition to the majors, struggling to maintain consistent production and adjust to the rigors of big league pitching. His potential is undeniable, but the risk of relying on him as a primary catcher is significant. The Yankees are thus faced with a delicate balancing act. Do they lean into a proven veteran like Rutman to stabilize the position, or do they double down on internal talent with Rice and Wells, hoping that development and opportunity align? The managerial situation adds another layer of complexity. Aaron Boone's future with the team remains uncertain, and it is entirely possible that a new manager will take the helm next season. That person's philosophy, preferences, and comfort with internal options versus external acquisitions will significantly influence roster decisions. A manager who values experience and proven production may push for Rutman, while one who prioritizes youth and long-term development may opt to give Rice or Wells more opportunities. Each of these decisions will reverberate through the roster, influencing not just catcher, but the composition of the infield, outfield, and even the pitching staff. Speaking of the infield, the Yankees' shortstop situation cannot be ignored. Anthony Volpe has shown flashes of brilliance, but it is becoming increasingly evident that he may not be the long-term solution the team hoped for. The offseason presents an opportunity to pursue stability at shortstop, either through trade, free agency, or continued development of internal options. The scarcity of elite shortstops in a market underscores the importance of proactive planning. A misstep here could leave the team vulnerable, particularly when considering the domino effect across other positions. A stable shortstop anchors the infield, provides defensive reliability, and allows for strategic flexibility elsewhere on the roster. The Yankees' decisions in this regard will signal their willingness to invest in immediate performance versus long-term potential. Pitching remains another focal point. Gerrit Cole's health and performance are central to the rotation's success. If he returns to form, the Yankees can rely on him as an anchor, but uncertainty remains. Other arms, such as Will Warren and Cam Sheldler, offer promise, yet bullpen depth and durability continue to be a concern. Injuries, inconsistencies, and performance slumps throughout the pitching staff highlight the importance of thoughtful roster construction. Any addition, whether through trade or free agency, must account for both immediate needs and long-term sustainability. The outfield presents its own set of strategic questions. Aaron Judge's positioning has ripple effects across the team. If Judge returns to the outfield, first base remains flexible, but if he shifts permanently to first, other roster decisions must adjust accordingly. Cody Bellinger's contract situation and free agency status create additional complexity. The Yankees must weigh the value of resigning key players against the cost of acquiring new talent, all while maintaining a competitive roster capable of contending in the American League. This balancing act between retaining familiar talent and exploring new options will be central to the offseason strategy. Beyond individual positions, the Yankees must consider how all these moving pieces interact. Catcher, shortstop, first base, outfield, and pitching decisions are interconnected, each influencing the others. A trade for Ruttman, for example, is not just about catching. It impacts Rice and Wells' roles, affects first base alignment if Judge shifts positions, and interacts with broader strategic decisions about roster depth and flexibility. Similarly, decisions about outfielders like Bellinger and Giesbrecht will influence where other players fit defensively and offensively. The Yankees are in a position where every move carries multiple implications, making strategic foresight essential. Adding to the challenge is the unpredictability of player development. Young players like Rice and Wells have shown flashes of potential, but translating that into consistent major league performance is never guaranteed. Injuries, slumps, and adjustments by opposing teams all influence outcomes. Relying too heavily on unproven talent carries risk, but over-investing in veteran acquisitions can limit future flexibility. The Yankees must navigate this delicate balance, making decisions that account for immediate performance while preserving long-term options. Ultimately, the Yankees' offseason strategy will be defined by a combination of vision, adaptability, and risk management. The choices made at catcher, shortstop, first base, outfield, and in the pitching staff will shape the team's trajectory for years to come. Fans, analysts, and insiders will watch closely, scrutinizing every move, every trade, and every signing. The stakes are high, and the margin for error is narrow. For a franchise with championship aspirations, the offseason is a critical period, a time when careful planning, decisive action, and calculated risks intersect to create opportunities for sustained success. Off-season planning also requires anticipating unforeseen challenges. Injuries, underperformance, and unexpected opportunities can all alter the best-laid plans. A catcher might struggle or flourish, a shortstop might emerge as a surprise star, or a pitcher might return to form more quickly than expected. The Yankees must remain nimble, ready to adapt to changing circumstances while keeping long-term goals in mind. This combination of strategic foresight and operational flexibility is essential for maintaining competitiveness in a league as demanding and unpredictable as Major League Baseball. In conclusion, while the Yankees have multiple pressing priorities, the catcher position represents a fascinating intersection of opportunity and risk. Ruttman's potential acquisition is not just about adding a player. It is about shaping the future of the roster, balancing veteran experience with youth development, and preparing the team for sustained success. The interplay between internal options like Rice and Wells, managerial philosophy, positional flexibility, and broader roster considerations will define the decision-making process. For Yankees fans, this offseason promises to be both exciting and consequential as the team navigates a complex landscape of talent, contracts, and strategic choices that could set the tone for the next decade of baseball in the Bronx. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. Whispers that have been circulating for weeks finally crystallized into reality as the New York Yankees officially confirmed the acquisition of Francisco Lindor from the New York Mets, a move that is sending shockwaves throughout Major League Baseball. The news, which has dominated sports talk shows and social media feeds simultaneously, marks a seismic shift in the landscape of the American League East as the Yankees secure one of the most electrifying shortstops in the game. Fans and analysts alike are now poring over the implications of this blockbuster trade, speculating not only on how Lindor's presence will transform the Yankees' lineup, but also on how the Mets will recalibrate their roster in the wake of his departure. The chatter is relentless, with insiders suggesting that this deal could have ripple effects far beyond New York, influencing trade strategies and free agent decisions across the league. While the official statements were polished and measured, the undercurrent of excitement, anticipation, and even a touch of tension is palpable among players, coaches, and supporters alike. Lindor's track record as a dynamic offensive and defensive force, combined with his charisma and leadership qualities, adds layers of intrigue, leaving commentators to debate whether the Yankees have finally addressed their perennial search for the elusive combination of star power and cohesive team chemistry. The rumor mills now focus intensely on how quickly Lindor can assimilate into the Bronx environment, where the media spotlight and fan expectations are notoriously relentless, a challenge that could either elevate his career to legendary status or test his resilience in ways few players experience. Observers note that beyond the statistics and highlight reels, the psychological and cultural adjustments inherent in switching crosstown allegiances are equally compelling, fueling endless speculation about locker room dynamics, clubhouse culture, and the subtle shifts in team leadership that inevitably accompany the arrival of a player of Lindor's stature. The dialogue across platforms underscores a singular truth. This is more than a trade. It is a moment that encapsulates the drama, unpredictability, and unceasing intrigue that define baseball at its highest level. The ramifications of Lindor joining the Yankees extend well beyond the immediate lineup implications, as sports insiders are dissecting how this move might redefine the competitive balance of the league for seasons to come. Every game now carries the potential for headlines that dominate both local and national news, as pundits speculate on how the synergy between Lindor and established Yankees veterans will manifest on the field. Every rumor, every insider tip, and every whisper about clubhouse chemistry feeds into the growing mythology surrounding this transaction, suggesting that the story of Lindor's move is only beginning, and that its consequences on the field and the front office and in the hearts of fans will unfold in a dramatic, unpredictable manner. Observers note that trades of this magnitude rarely exist in a vacuum, instead triggering a cascade of adjustments, reactions, and countermoves that create an ongoing narrative arc, fueling speculation and heightening anticipation with each passing day. The excitement, mingled with tension, is palpable, as the baseball world watches with rapt attention to see whether this bold move lives up to its enormous promise and the lofty expectations it has already generated. Even as the official announcement reverberates through stadiums, locker rooms, and broadcast studios, the underlying murmurings about the potential cultural and emotional impact of Lindor's arrival are equally compelling, painting a complex portrait of what it means to join a team with a storied, high-pressure history like the Yankees. Sources close to both organizations suggest that the transition period may involve subtle but significant adjustments, from training routines and communication styles to expectations around media engagement and leadership responsibilities. Fans, of course, have their own narratives, imagining the iconic moments Lindor might create in Yankee Stadium, while simultaneously speculating on how this move reshapes rivalries within the division. Beyond the statistics and accolades, the intrigue lies in how personalities, temperaments, and social dynamics intersect with performance, creating a storyline that is as much about human psychology as it is about athletic prowess. Sports columnists and bloggers are tirelessly dissecting every angle, from the tactical advantages of having Lindor's agility and clutch hitting in critical situations to the more subtle shifts in team cohesion that could influence postseason outcomes. Meanwhile, the Mets' perspective is a rich vein for speculation, as rumors swirl regarding their plans for reinvestment of resources, player development, and strategic acquisitions, each of which could signal either a rebuilding phase or an ambitious pivot aimed at long-term competitiveness. Social media amplifies every nugget of information, with fans and analysts alike interpreting tweets, interviews, and insider leaks to predict the trajectory of both franchises, creating a 24/7 conversation that feeds the rumor mill. Within this context, the arrival of Lindor becomes not merely a player transaction, but a lens through which larger narratives about loyalty, identity, ambition, and expectation are explored, inviting endless conjecture about how individual talent interacts with collective goals. The atmosphere is electric, a mix of hope, apprehension, and curiosity, as the baseball community anticipates the first official appearances of Lindor in pinstripes, knowing that the ripple effects of this trade will be felt long after the initial headlines fade. The buzz, intense and unrelenting, captures the essence of professional sports, where each roster move resonates far beyond the field, shaping conversations, expectations, and dreams in ways that statistics alone cannot quantify. Amid the swirling speculation about strategy and performance, attention is turned toward the symbolic and emotional weight that Lindor carries as a high-profile addition to a franchise with such a rich history. Meanwhile, the Mets management is subject to intense scrutiny as observers speculate about the long-term vision for the team following the departure of a marquee player, weighing the benefits of prospects, draft picks, or financial flexibility received in return. Across the board, the narrative is fueled by speculation, conjecture, and the human fascination with the interplay of talent, ambition, and fortune, creating a continuous cycle of analysis and debate. Commentators highlight the delicate balance between performance metrics and intangible qualities such as morale, motivation, and influence, acknowledging that Lindor's integration could redefine the Yankees' identity both on and off the field. As the buzz continues to dominate headlines and conversations, attention is also turning to the broader economic and commercial implications of Lindor joining the Yankees, sparking speculation about merchandise sales, ticket demand, and media ratings. Observers note that the Yankees' acquisition of a star player of Lindor's caliber is likely to generate a surge in fan engagement, with ripple effects across social media platforms, broadcast viewership, and local businesses surrounding the stadium. Conversations in boardrooms and analyst reports highlight the ways in which high-profile trades are not only athletic decisions, but also strategic investments, capable of influencing revenue streams, sponsorship opportunities, and brand perception. Meanwhile, fans continue to dissect every possible angle, from Lindor's projected home run numbers to his impact on key games, feeding a continuous cycle of rumor, debate, and anticipation that permeates the sports community. The human element remains equally compelling, as pundits speculate about Lindor's interactions with teammates, the locker room atmosphere, and the potential emergence of new informal leaders, each factor contributing to the evolving story. In addition, discussions often return to the psychological dimension of such a move, considering how a player acclimates to new pressures, media scrutiny, and heightened expectations in one of the world's most demanding sports markets. Analysts and commentators alike emphasize that while statistics provide a tangible framework for evaluation, the intangible qualities, resilience, charisma, and adaptability can ultimately determine whether the trade fulfills its ambitious promise. In this context, every practice session, game, and interview becomes fodder for speculation, magnifying the stakes and fueling the narrative in ways that extend far beyond the diamond. The dialogue surrounding Lindor's arrival is as multifaceted as it is intense, combining competitive analysis, economic considerations, cultural integration, and psychological insight into a single, ongoing conversation. Fans, journalists, and insiders alike are now participants in a living rumor, one that evolves daily as new observations and interpretations emerge, ensuring that the story of Francisco Lindor and the Yankees will remain a topic of fascination for months and likely years to come. Ultimately, the confirmed trade of Francisco Lindor to the Yankees encapsulates the drama, excitement, and unrelenting speculation that define the modern sports landscape, with implications that span athletic performance, team strategy, organizational identity, and fan culture. Conversations continue to swirl about how Lindor's arrival will reshape the Yankees' prospects for postseason success, influence locker room dynamics, and affect the long-term vision of both franchises, creating a rich tapestry of rumor and conjecture that feeds the imagination of fans and analysts alike. Beyond the field, there is intense interest in the economic ramifications, media coverage, and merchandising potential, as every aspect of the move is analyzed and debated across multiple platforms. Social media amplifies each insight, theory, and leaked tidbit, creating a feedback loop where speculation drives attention, attention drives coverage, and coverage drives further rumor, making the story almost performative in its own right. Meanwhile, the Mets' reaction, strategic choices, and long-term plans remain subjects of intense scrutiny, as observers attempt to determine whether the organization is positioned for a rebuild, a retooling, or an unexpected surge in competitiveness. At the heart of this whirlwind is Lindor himself, whose on-field skills, leadership qualities, and personality will be dissected, celebrated, and critiqued in real time, illustrating the intense pressures and opportunities inherent in joining a high-profile franchise. Fans, analysts, and insiders are united in their fascination with the story, engaging in endless debate, projecting outcomes, and imagining scenarios that range from the immediately plausible to the wildly speculative, ensuring that this trade remains a central topic of discussion across the baseball world. In essence, the confirmation of Francisco Lindor's move to the Yankees is not merely a transaction, but a living narrative, an evolving saga that reflects the complex interplay of talent, expectation, rumor, and aspiration that defines professional sports in the modern era, and promises to dominate conversations, headlines, and imaginations for the foreseeable future. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.